yesterday. They're mourning the way it used to be. They're still in that where they don't know, gosh, I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what I can handle it. My mind is confused. I don't know. They're still in that place until God says, okay, it's time.
Amen.
Speaks to the next leaders, the next generation of leaders, and then he begins to awaken them, to arise, that says, okay, I have not got a clue what I'm supposed to do. I've been trained for the last 40 years, 80 years, 100 years. I've been trained sitting under him, sitting under her, sitting under them, sitting under that. But now it's a new season. Now I understand that, okay, I'm the leader. This is what he's telling him. Take your responsibility, Joshua. Rise up. It's your turn. It's your season. This is now. We're born for such a time as this. Amen. So what does he do? He begins to tell them. Tell him, Moses is dead now, therefore rise. Go over this Jordan, you and all these people. Amen. This is a corporate thing. It's not just a Joshua thing. Joshua was already in the promised land at one point. He was already there. He could have stayed there. But because of the mandate to bring a generation and not just a one-man show, come on, ministry-minded, this is where you understand. You can't go out. When you're in the kingdom, you know you can't go out and start your own ministry anymore. It's over. It's through. It's finished. Now, there is a people, there is a generation that we have to rise up to take over into this new. See, this is why we have this class on Monday night. Not so that we can build a church. Not so that we can have all the entertainment, all the programs of the church. It is to equip us with the Spirit of God to cross over this place that we are. Amen. This is what God, when God called Abraham, he called him, the Bible says, a Hebrew. That was the very first time that the word Hebrew even was mentioned in the Bible. God called Abraham a Hebrew. Hebrew means avar. It literally means to cross over. Amen. So when we cross over from one system to the next system, we avar. We become just like a Hebrew in the aspect of the citizenship of the lineage of the promise. Amen. This is what he's doing. He's reconnecting the promise, the oath, the covenant that God had. This is what God is downloading in this hour. He's not giving us individual mandates. Amen. Individual ministries. Amen. Individual anointings, individual callings. He is giving us a corporate kingdom mandate that we have to be reinforced in this hour. This is why when I hear people say, oh, I got to go start my own ministry, then we understand where they're at. We understand where they're at. This is why he told Joshua, it's time for you to rise. Rise up. He says, okay, you and these people, you are going to take these people unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that I have given unto you, as I said unto Moses. See, this isn't Joshua's new ministry, Joshua.com. Come on to the earth. It is the same mandate, the kingdom message of Moses. The very same thing. So when we understand what God is downloading in the earth realm today, we understand this is not a Prophetess Tracy thing. This is not a bishop thing. It is a kingdom thing that he is releasing. When we can change our minds to think like that, kingdom-minded, then we can understand, hold on a minute, this goes way beyond Prophetess Tracy. This goes way beyond them even being in the earth realm. This goes on to a generation of covenant that God gave way back then. Now, he's just reestablishing it in our time. This is why he's raising us up for such a time as this, because you and I are vital to the mandate that he's releasing. Covenant is coming back. Ezekiel chapter 36, God tells Ezekiel, I had to scatter my people among the heathen because they chose to do their own thing. Hello, Adam. I had no choice. I had to scatter them. I had to scatter. I had to kick them out of the garden because they chose to be their own manager of their own ways. I gave them the Garden of Eden, and I said, dress it. I gave them everything. All I wanted was the one tree. It belonged to me. It was the tithe. It was the tenth. It belonged to me. I just gave them. Could you imagine having everything there, and you still didn't want to obey. Still did. This is what we do all the time. It's what we see all the time when we say, here it is. We give you the sphere. Run with it. Prophetess, run with it. Prophetess, run with it. It's yours for the taking. Wherever the soles of your feet shall tread, wherever you're willing to fight for, wherever you're willing to bend the bow, wherever you're willing to march for, it belongs to you. I can't keep it from you. I can't hold you back. This is why when I give unto you something, I expect you to multiply it, to become fruitful, to subdue it, to replenish it, because it is a mandate of the kingdom. I don't have any control over what God brings forth in such a time as this. We are managers of what God is bringing forth in this hour. I'm just going to make some good managers today. I'm in my orientation class of managers today. Amen. So he tells him this. From the wilderness, he begins to bring the perimeters. And this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun, shall be your coast. This is when God begins to give us a mandate, especially for a region, especially the embassy. We start thinking, oh my gosh, I'm not educated. I'm not smart enough. I don't have no money. I'm not young enough anymore, Lord. We start thinking of a million different ways why we can't obtain it. Just like Abraham. I'm too old. I'm too old. Yeah, we think of all the different things that are bad with us that we can't obtain it because it's so big. But this is what he does. He tells him the perimeters of where he's going to go. He doesn't just throw us out there and say, good luck, prophetess. I hope you make it. Hope you survive. Which direction, Lord? I don't know, but good luck. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know, but good luck finding it. And then he gives us our spheres. This is what religious mode takes away from us. It takes away our spheres where we don't know who we are. A good manager, when I was managing, I would have to give them, okay, this is the paper. This is your responsibilities. You come in at a certain time. You punch out at a certain time. You is supposed to be doing this. This is your duties. This is what we expect from you. These are your duties. We don't like it. We complain and we murmur the whole 8 hours we're on job, right? And that's what we do when God begins to give us something. We complain and we murmur because we are still in that Adamic nature. We're still wanting to have our own and have the tree as well. We want to be our own God. We want to do our own thing. But when God begins to give us the perimeters, then we know our true identity. Then we know, okay, I'm not supposed to be in that lane. I'm not supposed to be over there in their lane. I'm not supposed to be doing that over there. Now I know the perimeters that I'm supposed to be operating in. Whether you are a business person, amen, whether you are called to the political field, because sometimes when I look at the political arena and I start reading up on it, I'm like, oh, dude, governor, mayors, it's just like, Lord, I don't think I can do that. And so we start seeing who we're not versus where our strengths lie, where our abilities are, where we can be a benefit to the body. So once we start developing those traits and those things, then we can start to be an effective citizen in the kingdom for the mandate and the mission. So he breaks down the perimeters. Then he says, there shall not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of life. He starts to encourage him. Because, boy, this is big, guys. This is a big mandate. This is a big mission. So he starts to encourage him. He says, as I was with Moses, so will I be with you. Why? Because it's not a Joshua.com ministry. It is a covenant from God, from generation to generation, that he is bringing it back. And then he tells him, be strong and of good courage. For unto this people shalt thou divide for an inheritance. There's an inheritance attached to our sphere. There's an inheritance attached to our field. Can I tell you that there is an inheritance attached to this ministry and this mandate? There is a huge inheritance that is lying right in front of us. But if we are not willing to tread upon it because we can't submit to the mandate to the mission, we want to be our own God, we want to do our own thing, guess what? We will never get the inheritance. This is what God is telling Joshua. There's an inheritance tied to this. You are crossing this impassable Jordan River. It is that God waits until it is just impossible in our natural. He waits until there is just no way we could do it on our own.
Amen.
Before then he comes to us and he said, okay, now it's time. Now it's time, Bishop. Now it's time when you just have a few people. Now it's time when you're so many years old. We want it to happen when we're in our young 20s.
I wanted to just interject. You know, you said that when we don't want to submit. But there's also the place like Moses. Moses, he didn't want to do it because he was afraid.
Amen.
He kept telling God, but I can't. God told him, come now, I will send you to the Pharaoh so that you can bring my people and the sons of Israel out of Egypt. But who am I, God? You know, and then he goes on and God tells him all these things. And then he says, but Lord, I've never been eloquent, neither can I talk. You know, and then he says, well, I'm going to give you Aaron. But this, you know, and so we also use that as an excuse not to go forward and obtain what God has for us.
Amen.
But what happened to that too? God got mad finally at Moses, and he told him he needed to do that.
Because see, the thing is when we understand a corporate mandate, corporately, that this is that what God wants to release in Colorado here can't just come from one person. It can't come from one man anymore. I know we entered into a season last time where it was just one man with a mega ministry. One woman with a mega ministry. Can I just annihilate that right now and say that this season is not going to be a one man with a mega ministry. We are coming back to the restoration of the covenant of God. We are coming back just like Esther. When Esther came, she came for such a time as this, not for little Esther, not so that she could be a princess in a nice white house, not so that she could be a queen in the castle. She came into existence for the purpose of the kingdom, for the mandate, for the mission of what? The people. Not herself, for the people, for what God wanted to do to set the people free. Amen. Set the people free, give them a place. I tell you, it's just when you begin to see it in the light of everything, it says, then it begins to encourage him. Verse 7, again, he says, only be thou strong and very courageous, that thou mayest observe to do according to all the law which Moses my servant. See, it takes him back, plugs him back in to covenant. This is what God is doing. He's plugging us back in, guys, to a covenant that he's about to bring some inheritance that you and I didn't labor for. We didn't have to. It belongs to him. It belongs to him. When God told Ezekiel, I had to scatter them among the heathen because they wanted to do what they wanted to do. He says, but I will gather them again. Yeah. Amen. See, we think God is mad at us and he can't use us, but God says, I'm going to gather them again. I don't care what you went through yesterday. I don't care what you came from. I don't care what relationship you were in or struggle you saw or issue you had, or what background you came from, or what race you are. It does not matter in the kingdom. This is why there is no Greek or Jew, no male, no female, because in the kingdom, there is a kingdom mission and there is a kingdom mandate that has got to be released. It becomes God saying, it is not even for you. I'm going to gather you back for my holy name's sake. It is all about, when we understand it is about God and his name's sake, we don't have no worries about submitting. We don't care who we have to submit to. This is the whole entire, when we read about Joshua, that he says in 8, this book of the law shall not depart out of your mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night. Because just like Pastor Linda said, we're going to get hit with some things that say you're not good enough. You can't talk. You can't articulate. I mean, I'm jumping half of the time I'm up here because I know it in here. I can hear it in here, but I can't get it out. And when I get it out, it's all twisted and messed up. And it's just like, God, that's not how I hear you. But he begins to encourage us. And he says, if you begin to get off and crazy thinking, meditate back on my covenant, my purpose, the mandate, the mission. If I get to the point where I don't want to submit because I don't like her or I don't like him or I don't like what what she said today, or I didn't like what she wore today, or I don't like her lip liner, or I don't like that. If we ever get into the point, this crazy stuff. If we ever get to the point, I wish I could find some excuse that was worthwhile. But normally our excuses are not worthwhile. That's why we leave out the back door without telling anybody, because we don't have a good excuse. We just don't like to submit. We want to be rebellious. Amen. He says, if you get to the point, go back. Don't think about Prophetess Tracy and her crazy lip liner, crazy hair. Go back to the mandate, to the covenant, to the perimeters of what I have given you in the embassy. Go back to that. Just bypass looking at her, but go back. Remember the covenant. Remember the mission. Remember what God is saying and what God is releasing. Then it begins to tell him, if you meditate day and night, then thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein, then thou shalt make thy way prosperous. And then thou shalt have good success. See, the problem with us is we want to be prosperous and we have the good success before we submit to the mandate that God is releasing. We want to see the good success and we want to see our lives prospering, but I don't like her today, so I'm just going to stay at home. I'm sorry. There's principles in here that we have to abide by. I have to abide by them as well in order for my life to see the prosperity and the good success. How do we do this? Okay, verse 9 sums it all up. He says, have not I commanded thee? We see a commanding God, a governing authority come upon us. Isaiah 9:6. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, Mighty God, the Everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. And of the increase of what? His government and peace, there shall be no end upon the throne of David. Come on, this connects you right in. It plugs you right back in. Not to me, not to my ministry, but into the mandate, into the mission of what God, the government that has been released. There is a government that you and I can't even see in this natural realm, that it is a supernatural government that God is saying, okay, let's see who can submit to the government that I am bringing in this hour. Who can submit to it? He says, now have I not commanded you? Be strong and of good courage. Be not afraid. Neither be thou dismayed, for the Lord thy God is with you wheresoever you go. Then Joshua, the Bible said, commanded his officers. Why? Not because he's a mean person, not because he's a mean manager, but because there was inheritance. There was a sphere of authority, of dominion that they had to take over, that they had to be fruitful upon. Come on, God handed over Joshua just like he handed over to Adam. Handed over to Joshua just like he handed over to Adam. He says, okay, here's the parameters. I'm causing you to manage it, to keep it, to shamar it. What are you going to do with it? Why did he have to command? Because let me tell you, you have something in your hands that you, as a manager, if something is entrusted to you, you're going to want to make sure that everything is functioning properly. Not because we want to lord over anybody, not because we want to be mean and we want everybody to submit under us, but because there is an inheritance tied to the very perimeters that God has for us. There is inheritance that we all, not just one person, not just your leaders, get to take hold of and obtain and grab, but we all have an inheritance that is tied up here. This is why God commanded Joshua. Then Joshua had to command the officers, the leaders. That's why we have leadership meetings in our church, so that we can sometimes say, we've got to command you. We've got to speak some things now so that we can tell you what to do, because there is an inheritance that is about to come forth. And if we do not heed the commandments that God is telling us to do, guess what? None of us are going to have the inheritance that we have. Yes,
even coming back to that mandate, when we said in verse 8 that we're to meditate, and it brings us back to the very mandate of God. With that mandate also should come the understanding of the responsibility and what is given to us. You know what I mean? You have that given to us. There's a responsibility. It doesn't just remind us of what it is, but it also should bring us back to the accountability and the responsibility that God has placed upon us.
Absolutely, and everything that He does. It's all about, he talks about it. He said, I command you command your leaders, and the officers, what did they do? They commanded the people. They commanded the people. He said, prepare yourself. This is what we're doing. This is what I do. This is my job. To prepare you for the inheritance. To prepare you. That's why, it kind of hurts me when I know that God has brought people in here to help with the mandate to get it established, and then they decide they want to go, do their own thing. I can't even imagine God in the garden giving it over to Adam, and then Adam causing high treason and walking away from the very thing that God gave him. It's what we do all the time here as leaders, as Joshuas, that we give over we give over perimeters and fields to people and say, okay, build a manager, grow it, so that this whole place grows up. We all participate. We all are affected. When you increase and multiply and become fruitful and subdue and replenish, we all benefit from it. Amen? We all get to benefit from our fruit. We all get to benefit from the increase. We all get to benefit from everything that happens and takes place in here. And so when we get it and we take it all on our own, we all are affected by it. We all are affected because there's some people who are awesome that come in here, that that God wants to bring in to help bring us forth into our inheritance. Help cross us over. Help us to be the Joshua. See, every one of us can be the Joshua. Every one of us can be the Joshua that God downloads and says, I have to command you to do this because we're about to cross over. You and all these people do this and command the people. And so if we really receive the orders of our manager, we will in return manage well. Amen? If we really receive the orders of our manager, we will in return manage well. Everything that has been entrusted unto us, we're going to learn how to manage it well. That becomes building. I will place my church upon this rock, and the gates of hell shall not be able to prevail against it. What is it? He says, this is where I'm going to build my church. Building is, we know in the Hebrew, is banah. B-A-N-A-H. And let me tell you, when he says that, he tells Peter, he says, upon this rock, upon this revelation, upon the kingdom, I'm going to build my church. I'm going to banah. Banah literally means to add sons and daughters. Amen. So the inheritance is not just for me. Amen. Not just for you. It is for the sons and daughters that we release. Hello, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, the 12 tribes. It's just see, the kingdom of God is like this. It is a lineage. It is a line that one is promised from God, and then the next generation, and it just keeps on going until the kingdom is established, until Revelations 11:15. The kingdoms of this world become the kingdoms of our Lord and of His Christ. It begins to go to the next generation. And then that's why it's not just about us. Not just about us. That's why we can't just preach any old thing anymore and hype you up and hoot and holler. Amen? I always wanted to be one of those hollering preachers. But God revealed I did. But that's all topical. I wanted that. But when we understand covenant and kingdom, there's so much more than hooting and hollering. Amen? There's an inheritance that I don't want to just have by myself. I want to see a people have the inheritance. What the enemy stole from you, we're going to get it back.
Amen.
We're going to get it back. If we have to awaken an army, amen, and position you so that we can add sons and daughters, so that the plan of God for this time in this dispensation cannot just stay with us. That's why we can't just go and do our own little thing anymore. We have a next generation waiting upon us. Amen. We have a next generation waiting upon us. Matthew 25:14. Is anybody getting anything, any clarity on this?
Yes.
Amen. This is why I wanted to have a lot of the PowerPoint on here, because I have a lot of scripture. Matthew 25:14, and we read this all the time, and maybe this will help for some of you. It says, for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered unto them his goods. Here we go again. God giving Adam his field, his sphere, giving him his place, saying, okay, have dominion, rule, reign, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue it. He's giving him his goods, and unto one he gave what? 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to every man according to his what? Several ability. See, God will never put on you what he didn't already ordain you to walk in.
Amen. Yes.
Amen. He knows the beginning. He knows the end.
Yeah.
He knows the end. He knows the beginning. He knows what he began in you, and he knows where he's going to complete you. Amen. So don't get freaked out when we start talking and saying, giving something to you and handing you 1 talent, 2 talents, 5 talents. Oh, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if God knows. God knows what you can handle. Amen. He's delivered unto them according to their several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them what? More 5 talents.